Love on the rocks!
The return of Lance Barber as George Cooper in Georgie and Mandy's first marriage has been unexpectedly emotional for many fans. Despite George's death in young Sheldon, Barber's appearance as George in a dream sequence with Georgie will add a heartfelt moment to the new show. The scene, set in the Cooper family home, addresses Georgie's struggles with his father's legacy, making it especially poignant given their complicated relationship in young Sheldon. This reunion, while bittersweet, also helps fill a gap left by the show's conclusion, offering a sense of closure for viewers invested in the Cooper family's story. Although it's soon after George's death, the moment is stirring, especially given the character's untimely passing and the family dynamics explored in young Sheldon. Fans are both excited and apprehensive about this emotional return, as it opens old wounds for the characters and the audience alike. OMG, I didn't expect to be this emotional seeing Lance Barber as George again after his young Sheldon death. Less than a year after George's death, I wasn't expecting to be this emotional after seeing Lance Barber return in Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. As has been discussed so many times in the last 2 years, CBS cancellation of young Sheldon wasn't due to the lack of interest from the public, as it was broadcast's #1 comedy. As an avid viewer who spearheaded Screen Rant's coverage of the show on the site, I understood why Chuck Lorre and his team decided to end the show, but I knew there were ways to keep it going beyond Sheldon's childhood. Young Sheldon's finale stuck with what was established in the Big Bang Theory canon. Ending with a highly emotional note was very impressive, especially since the show was able to perfectly balance drama and comedy. These days, the Coopers remain represented on TV thanks to Georgie and Mandy's first marriage, which I'm surprised has been able to preserve a similar tone despite being a multi-camera sitcom. That being said, it's going to even push the envelope when it comes to its storytelling when it brings back Barber's character despite George's death in young Sheldon. Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. BTS sets first look at Lance Barber's return as George. I've always known that the Cooper patriarch will eventually come back in Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. As I've correctly pointed out, Lorre and his team are mining inspiration from Professor Proton's post-death return in The Big Bang Theory for George's comeback, with Georgie's dad coming back through his dream. What I didn't expect is for Georgie and Mandy's first marriage to do this early on in its run. While other specific details about Barber's appearance remain under wraps, it is confirmed to happen in its debut year. In fact, they have even filmed the scene. It was co-creator Steve Molaro who shared the first look at George and Georgie's reunion on screen via a behind-the-scenes image. According to the producer, they are already editing the said episode, which means that it could be released in the next few weeks. I stand by my original stance on the matter. Barber's cameo as the Cooper family patriarch should happen after at least a couple of seasons. At this point, it's way too soon to see him again as George following his death in young Sheldon. Still, I can't argue that the image has made me so unexpectedly emotional. George and Georgie's reunion is set in the Cooper home so far. Only the behind-the-scenes image from Molaro is the only look at Barber's return as George and Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. Despite that, the setting of the scene makes it all the more emotional for me, and I'm assuming everyone who loved the Coopers throughout young Sheldon's run. For starters, the pair's dream sequence will take place in their family breakfast nook, with the father and son sitting down for a conversation. Per the official report, George comes to Georgie as baby Cece's father, struggling with the idea that he's failing his dad's legacy. The idea in itself is already heartbreaking, especially knowing how hard life has been for Georgie lately. But seeing George sitting down in his own home knowing that he never made it back for their family photo that fateful day of his heart attack brings up more emotions than grieving his loss. The scene is also a reminder of the life that he never got to live. Despite the Big Bang Theory's depiction of the character, George was dedicated to his family. Knowing that he was on the cusp of getting his dream job makes his death much more tragic. George's return fixes young Sheldon's biggest Georgie missed opportunity. It's worth noting that the scene is equally bittersweet from Georgie's perspective. I know that seeing his dad again would be a big treat for George and Mary's firstborn, especially considering how young Sheldon tackled the pair's relationship. While Sheldon always had his mom coddling him in the prequel, and Missy had a special bond with his father, Georgie was often left on his own. He specifically had a difficult relationship with George, who used to criticize his decisions. Young Sheldon Season 7 somehow repaired their dynamic, but it wasn't remotely near complete when George died. For a sitcom, Laurie and his writers were able to successfully endear Sheldon and his family to avid viewers like me, that revisiting the clan's biggest loss thus far is like opening a wound before it can even fully heal. All these nuances make me both excited and somewhat scared to see George's reunion with Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. For a sitcom, Laurie and his writers were able to successfully endear Sheldon and his family to avid viewers like me, that revisiting the clan's biggest loss thus far is like opening a wound before it can even fully heal. I know that sounds a little bit too dramatic for a show, but that's the power of these universal stories. Enjoy Screen Rant's primetime coverage? Click below to sign up for our weekly Network TV newsletter. Make sure to check Network TV in your preferences, and get the inside scoop from actors and showrunners on your favorite series. The Big Bang Theory is one of the most successful sitcoms on television in recent times. A show that aired on the American network CBS, it crossed borders over 12 seasons, establishing a solid fan base worldwide and becoming a cult series for many. The show, which premiered in 2008, follows a group of scientist friends whose antics brought joy and fun to fan screens until it concluded in May 2019. This was the moment when Sheldon, Leonard, Raj, Howard, Bernadette, Amy, and their neighbor Penny bid farewell to their audience, who followed them through each season. The success of The Big Bang Theory wasn't just due to its fascinating and hilarious stories that made everyone laugh. The quality of the characters' performances was a fundamental part of the show's popularity, which continues to gain viewers with each rerun. While The Big Bang Theory is a show related to science, as its plot often referenced it, it makes sense that the characters were prepared on the subject when acting. This was to avoid mistakes that could have jeopardized the credibility of what was being discussed. It's no secret that the production of The Big Bang Theory had a team of expert advisors in physics and aerospace engineering, due to the professions of Leonard, Sheldon, and Howard. However, what some fans might not know is that one of the cast members played a crucial role in this aspect of the show since joining in Season 3. It turns out that Mayim Bialik, who played Amy Farrah Fowler on The Big